And welcome back. Today we are flying out the J34, which is essentially a Hunter F1 with a slightly better engine than AIM-9Bs at 9.3. Does this thing compete with something like the Hunter FGA9? Definitely not. This thing is pretty bad, which is exactly the reason why I'm picking this vehicle to show you how to deal with stock grinding in a matchmaker like this. People have all aspect missiles, you don't have the best speed, you don't have the best turn rate, and you don't have countermeasures in an environment where a lot of enemies actually do have all aspect missiles, and I'll show you later in the video how you deal with those. But starting off, we are gonna actually look at the gameplay. But before we really get into that, we have received a new feature on the channel. You can now become a member, you get a badge next to your name, you get to use some emotes. The more members I get, the more emotes I can add, so there's only 4 for right now, but I will increase the amount of them. And of course, if you want to get this absolutely fantastic abomination of a decal, you can do so by using the discount code down in the description. So let's look at the game here. We have an F86F behind us. It's a Japanese one, so we might have AIM-9Bs. It might be an F40, which is a lot more dangerous than the F30, but we're not quite sure which one it is at this very moment. And I can't really do much about him other than try to outrun him. The F40 and any Sabre for that matter, you really just can't really do anything about, especially if he's accompanied by someone that can very easily catch you. It's a Lightning, and the Lightning does have pretty good missiles. I don't want to get him behind us at a very close range. The red tops, they're good, they're not amazing. Luckily they're pretty handy to dodge. Very short range, a very fat missile, you just don't want it to get very close to you. We're gonna air brake a little bit to negate the fact that he's gonna dump a lot more speed. Gonna try to make him overshoot. He realizes he's going to lose that kind of turn fight if he keeps behind us, and he breaks off. I try to missile him just in case he's not really paying attention, and the missile almost does reach him, but he dodges it last second, moving a little bit left and right, and he bleeds it of all of its energy, and now he's simply going to run from it. So that's first missile shot, but no back. So what do? Well, we just wait for the next opportunity, which is what you have to do in a vehicle like this. And it's the same if you're stock, or maybe your plane is bad in general. And if you wonder how to do this in props, I am starting to make a playlist with these vehicles, and you can check it down in the description as well. We've done this in the FU1C as well as in the BTD, and in general it's just a lot of accepting that you don't really have many strengths. Instead of using your strengths, you want to abuse the weakness of your enemy. Because very often when you have a plane that doesn't really have any advantages, you just kind of have to test the water, see what their plane is bad at, and then when they make a mistake you need to jump on it, but it's sketchy. You don't really have a solid game plan, you just kind of need to roll with the punches and see what you can and can't do. We dive on the F table, we miss our shots, and we fly away. Right now the guy behind us is alone, and I kind of want to go for him because he's alone, but then I get the scimitar on my 6 who is 100% going to catch me. So instead of turning around, giving my 6 to him, I'm gonna go for the blob here and see if I can pick off some of their units. Very easy shot here, we underlead. This is one of the first games I flew in this thing, and my aim is just going to be atrocious. And I mean, Aidens, they're not my cup of tea anyway. Luckily I have 600 rounds. So I line up, I shoot, and he rolls out of the way. And at this point I can't really break off, I have too much position here. This is going to be a pretty easy kill. I just need to make sure that he rolls in our guns. He finally does so after having pretty decent evasive actions for a little bit. And then I have the entire team on our 6, so I'm just going to be kind of running away towards a teammate, hoping to kind of burn them out of their fuel, make them RTB, and well, let's just speed it up a little bit. Because we fly all the way behind our airfield, not over it. We're not using the AA, but we're flying away as far away from their airfield as possible. They went back to rearm, and then we only have the F40, who then turned around the second we turned around after we created a bit of a gap. He didn't even want to take the head on, so we get his 6. We are now on this guy's 6, and I mean, we're not going to be able to turn with this guy in any stretch of the imagination. He is much more maneuverable, and there's a very big chance he is running min fuel. Almost pull in there, but not quite. And now we're just gonna break off, making sure that I'm not flying towards the airfield, because I don't want to use it, because I have enough energy here to really deal with this guy by simply diving a little bit, picking up our speed, and then going into a very shallow climb. The F-Sabre can't really compete in this kind of manner, especially if we already have some energy in the bank to begin with. We were faster, and our plane is superior in this kind of setting. The only issue is he's probably on like 2 or 3 minutes of fuel, and he is just gonna be much more competitive in the performance stance. But luckily we do have a lot of energy in the bank, and I'm just dragging this guy up. And you can tell that he's going almost straight vertical for us, and we are somewhat turning horizontally. And he's closing the gap slightly but surely. However, he's not gonna get close enough to really get in gun range, so we drop the flaps here. I just want to make sure that I slow down enough that I complete this turn as he is stalled out, and there he is. There is absolutely nothing this guy can do. Missed the first shot, second burst however takes his wing clean off. So we now go back for the landing, there's no one near us, and after we take off we will be right back, and there we are. So now we have 2 kills, but it's 1v4 and we are in a J34 against vehicles that are not necessarily better than us, but all of them together are definitely gonna pose a problem. Why? Because well, we just don't turn very well. We are pretty quick, but we aren't maneuverable enough, and that lightning there is going to diminish any type of speed or acceleration performance advantage that we might have. Same for the Sea Vixen, and there is 2 of them. So what do? Well, matter of waiting. I want this lightning to dive on us right now because well, there is really no one else here. And maybe I can deal with this guy in a one-on-one. If this guy gets accompanied by any other subsonic, like the G or the F40 that's there, the G91, or maybe the Sea Vixen, I am completely boned. And I'm sorry, my voice is absolutely ruined. I have a bit of a cold, so if I sound a little bit more dead than usual, that might be why. So the lightning flies up over us, and I'm gonna see if I can kind of cut inside of him, maybe spook him into going vertical, because he's gonna dump a lot of speed if he tries to dogfight us, which is my idea right here. I should have killed him right there. Not an easy shot, but I should have killed him right there. However, I cannot aim the Aidens for the life of me, so we miss our shot. I'm gonna give chase for a little bit, then notice that he is just running away, and now he's below us, and I kind of want this guy to come for us, so I'm just gonna break off. I don't want to let this guy accelerate. I want this guy to be as aggressive as possible, so that he actually bleeds his speed. I see him turning around. I'm gonna turn in for the head-on. We don't have to turn nearly as much. This guy has to do a full 180. We simply have to pull like 80, 70 degrees. You come for the head-on, and I'm gonna pull into it. However, we can't really do it, but we are below him. And I told you before, below someone in the merge, and he pulls up a little bit later, you're gonna be at a disadvantage. So we hold the trigger down. We manage to get a crit in, and in the meantime, there is still no one around us. So we are able to clean this guy up right here, and we have to. However, he turns a bit better, and he bleeds a lot of speed because he's crit now, and he actually manages to reverse us. Now we have the energy here to really deal with him. The issue is, this is taking me a lot of time, because I tried to stick on this guy 6, which was a bit of a mistake. And now I'm gonna bleed my own speed, drop the flaps, and pull in right behind the guy. The issue is, it's still a lightning, and he's gonna accelerate better than us, even though he's crit. He has been bleeding a lot of speed, however, and we're going very slow here. And at these speeds, he has to pull a hell of a lot to dodge that AIM-9B. Luckily for us, he is not able to do so, and we managed to take him down. He comes to G91. Absolutely perfect timing. Other than the fact that we're only going 800 kilometers an hour. He is above us, and he has been flying straight for a while. Big chance here that he is going to be quicker than us, so I have to take this head-on. Because if he gets past this head-on, I am completely boned. We spray him down. F40 gets spotted on the left. We do the same thing. We're gonna go head on with this guy and then break off. He however also breaks off, and we get no sauce, no back, so we have to run away. We're only going 740. Not sure how quick the F40 is there, but there's 2 guys left. It's the Sea Vixen and the F40, and the F40 is kind of annoying to deal with, especially considering I have 12 minutes of fuel here. Because well, that F40 is almost guaranteed to run 7 minutes, which is going to give him quite the performance advantage, and there is the Sea Vixen. Now on its own, it's not really that much of a nuisance. However, when he's accompanied by something like a Pitbull, even a Chihuahua can be quite the nuisance. So the Sea Vixen comes head on. He does have rockets equipped, but I mean, I like these odds. I need to take this guy down because I don't want this to turn into a 2v1. The F40 however is much quicker than us, so I'm gonna do an all-in move. I'm gonna try to slow down more than him to attempt and reverse him. The issue is, he actually breaks off, and now I wasted a lot of speed and have nothing to show for it. And this is why I say being slower than someone might not always be the best option. I'm trying to reverse him. It's a bit of an all-in. I'm trying to go slower. I'm trying to reverse the guy, but you can see he now has much more energy, and being slower is not always a good thing. And I do have the performance advantage in terms of acceleration, so I'm gonna dive out the second he has to do a full 360 turn. He gets on our 6 and he doesn't actually catch us, and the second he notices, he's going to break off. Now we give chase to him. He might end up going a little bit quicker than us in the long run here, because he does have a lower fuel amount. And I really don't have many options here. He goes for the ground units. We are gonna go head on, and he breaks off again. Why? I am not entirely sure, but we are now going pretty quick. We are reeling him in quite handily. And we are gonna be closing the gap. Shoot a missile at him. If it doesn't hit, so be it. If it does hit, I get rid of the weight and the drag, which is what I want, because I need all the performance I can get here. So I'm going to get the shot here. He's going to turn right ahead of us. We shoot him down, and he burns up to a crisp. If I had missed that shot, I could have simply just extended out, climbed a little bit, and we would have been able to energy trap him in the same kind of manner as we did with the first F40. However, it would be a little bit more risky, because we didn't have that much of a speed advantage, and we had a higher fuel amount, and he probably would have had a lower fuel amount considering the times we took off and landed. A little bit of a sketchy game, definitely not a very great showcase for how to fly this vehicle, but I mean, with vehicles like this you have to get a little bit lucky, and well, if the opportunities don't present themselves, well, you're probably not gonna get much done, and that's just the nature of these vehicles, because well, they're bad for a reason. Look for mistakes of your enemy. Look for opportunistic targets. And know the weaknesses of your enemy. Like the AV-8 here. It's a plane that shits away all of its energy like he just went to Taco Bell. So I know that if I get on this guy 6, I make him do 1 or 2 turns, he is energy trapped. If he doesn't try to run away, extend and accelerate out, he's done. But if he does that, he doesn't get the kill on us. So I don't feel as bad trying to pressure it. He's about to get missed by someone else, however. So it's not really that much of an issue. Actually, never mind that, he misses the missile. And I want to show you something here. It's after this F5C, and I'm sorry for this frame lag. I know my new PC should come in next week or the week after, and then the stuttering should be gone forever. But I want to show you guys how to deal with all aspect missiles when you don't have countermeasures or even the best turn. Yeah, that's some horrible frame lag. Luckily, the rounds were already in the air. The F5C goes down, and we are gonna look for our next victim. AV-8 there, potentially going to missile him, but he's already getting shot at. I might as well try. In a second we shoot it, he unfortunately for us starts turning, and we again don't get any sauce. I'm gonna try to clean him up, but the MF absolutely dicks on him. And now who do we go for? We have an F100, an A5C, an A10A, an A5 again, and a T2. How do I deal with the A10? First of all, we don't have an afterburner, otherwise cut it. You then want to go a little bit sideways to make sure that you close the distance quite quickly, but the missile has to pull in. The issue is A10s and Su-25s don't have radar slaving, so they have to put the cursor on you and then lead the missile, and they lose a lot of time doing that. They can shoot it at about 1.8, and by the time they actually lead the missile properly, you should be within 800 meters, and by that time the missile is not able to pull in anymore. Now if you are going very slow here, if you are a very hot plane that they can lock from beyond 2 kilometers, you're fucked. And that's why you want to make sure that you drop the afterburner. That's why you want to make sure that you are cold enough. And I'll show you another example here against an Su-25 in the next match. But this works almost every time. You can tell that I do this kind of merge with A10s almost every time if I don't have countermeasures. If you try to go directly head on, you're not gonna be dodging it 9 out of 10 times unless the plane will actually allow you to do so. Like maybe in something like a G91R, but in general it's pretty sketchy. If you're flying something like the Milan, if you're flying something like the T2 and you don't have rockets equipped, if you're flying something like the MiG-23BN for example, then you're gonna have a bit of an issue trying to dodge these missiles in the head-on, and that's just because you are too hot, you're too fat, and you don't really have an instantaneous turn. It's more of a, you're kind of drifting through the air. And if you have flown the T2, you know exactly what I mean with that, because what you're really doing is kind of turning in place. You're not really turning, you're not really getting out of the way in a missile, you're kind of just standing on your engines and drifting through the air, which for a missile, it's a pretty easy time to hit. About missiles from behind, it's a little bit more sketchy. You kind of just want to make sure that they can't launch on you, and you can say, well, that's unfair, and yes it is. You really have to play around them. They don't really have to think too much about it. You really have to make sure that they mess up the launches, and you want to make sure that you make the launch as hard for them as possible. If they have a proper launch, or if they wait until they get a good launch and don't launch it otherwise, you're really not going to be dodging many of these missiles. We go a little bit too fast, we can't really pull in. A10 rolls out of the way and then he rolls into the ground. He touches some grass in game and then he proceeds to go outside to touch some grass as well because he just smashed his keyboard. So we fly towards the middle of the map and see who we can help out here. I notice an F-86 that's chasing the AV-8 and I'm not going to be able to catch those, and an F-4C in the middle of the map. And then there's the MiG-19 dealing with the F-100. My main enemy here is going to be the MiG-19. It's a plane that I can't do anything about. Absolutely nothing. Su-25 in the background goes down, the F-4C is flying in the opposite direction, and the Harrier is also flying away from us, making it so that we can't really help him out. The MiG-19 and the F-100, however, are in a bit of a dogfight. And I'm just pulling in behind this guy. I say, "Hey yo, what's up?" And we blast this guy into Narnia. So, what now? We look around for more targets, and look at that, a fresh Su-25. So we do the exact same thing. We go a little bit sideways, we don't full in for the head-on. He doesn't even bother trying to shoot the missile because he knows it's not going to pull in. And now this guy is essentially energy trapped. He's already been turning up, all we did was merge in the straight line. And we're too close, the missile is not going to pull in. And it's the exact same principle as I showed you with the A10 just a bit earlier here. Really, these planes are not that much of an issue on their own. If it's multiple of them and they come in like a bit of a pincer maneuver, you're done. However, we turn just well enough and we are able to pull in time and deny him the head-on. And that's how you can deal with them most of the time. Now sure, if your team is kind of shit, if there's too many of them around and if you're kind of boxed in, you're getting shot at from multiple angles, and there's also an all-aspect missile carrier in the mix, I mean, you can't really do much. You kind of have to focus on the all-aspect missile carrier, the Su-25 and the A-10s most of the time. The issue is really that if they are next to someone and you get locked down, there's very little you can do. There is absolutely nothing you can really do on your own. You need to rely on them just messing it up, them flying away, them turning around and them leaving you alone and stuff like that. If they actually are committed to trying to kill you because they know you don't have flares, I mean, there is absolutely nothing you are going to be doing to it, and you are just kind of boned. And that's a sad reality of it. War Thunder is not inherently a fair game, and I don't mean in terms of matchmaking. We all know that that's completely fucked. But War Thunder is also a very dynamic game mostly, and a very scenario-based game. So sometimes you might be flying the best plane in the game, you might be the best pilot in the game, but they're flying two vehicles and they just happen to counter you in the perfect way, and there is just nothing you can do about it. That just happens sometimes, and it has nothing to do with the matchmaker, the BRs, the unfair AA or anything like that. This game can feel very unfair at times because of the scenario you get thrown into. And yes, it's completely fair to feel helpless sometimes. Sometimes this game is just a perfect shitstorm of what can go wrong, and even though you are doing everything right, you still end up losing because some fights are just unwinnable unless they really mess it up. There's just too many factors. It's about the map, the BR ranges, the planes you face, the people flying them, and you can't study every scenario. So like pretending this game is run by a flowchart is not going to get you very far, and I see very many people do this. They try to have like this plan of, okay, he is this many meters above me, I do this. He is that many meters behind me, I do X, Y, Z. I know that my plane turns a little bit better at 250 kilometers an hour. Like, it all doesn't really matter at the end. You have to just kind of roll with the punches and see what works and what doesn't. And that's what makes this game so fucking shit. But it's also the beauty of it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.